Alright, so this is gonna be a what if based off the TriStar movie Godzilla. Well, the original Godzilla that was actually meant to be the 1998. The failed Godzilla took that America did the first time around. Not our legendary studios. Our failed bad backstory Godzilla. Zilla. Now, those who don't know about this, there was actually going to the Zilla Godzilla movie was going to be pretty good, and if it actually continued on the path that it was going to, it would have actually been a pretty good movie, and probably gotten a sequel and well, more things. Now let me tell you something. This is actually one of the creations of, I forgot his name, but it's one of the creations of the creator of Jurassic World, who did the animatronics for all the dinosaurs, and he was pretty good until a couple during production of the movie, he quit. And that's when things went downhill. And the movie, the 1998 movie came out, and things were bad for America. But I'm here to say, what would have happened if it actually continued? So, for me to explain it, I must explain the origin of this Godzilla movie. And giving you a short rundown. So this movie was actually kind of going to be different. First, everything will be basically starting in New York. Things are going pretty well in other people's lives. And then somewhere else in the world, some people have been discovering many parts of the ancient world. And the ancient world is very in artifacts. But this is when they during one of the architects, they see blood, fresh life blood running down, and as they're all kind of confused, this is when a creature would actually wake up. This being a green, like reptilian, two-leg, theropodic creature rising up from the rocks as it would crush, as it would basically move out of the way. As the creature would basically roaring and roaring around that era of Godzilla roars. It'll still have the TriStar roars with some of the Heisei era mixed with it too. It would basically wake up and this mighty creature would decide to cause some havoc. Not on purpose, but it's basically doing what any animal would have done if it basically woke up from a long nap. Look for where's around. As this creature would basically start to bash and thrash around, destroying ships, crushing people, and as it would basically swim off. This was described as Godzilla, and this creature would basically go through around the world, kind of just wondering where it is. Well, some characters who want revenge on Godzilla would basically try to, well, kill him, like anyone would. The military would find Godzilla and basically start to fight Godzilla. As usual, which Godzilla retaliates with attacking the military. Godzilla shoots a blast of fire. Yeah, just to tell you, well, this blast of fire actually is a traditional blue in color. So it's not atomic breath type of thing, but it's blue fire, so that's the closest they can get to atomic. Instead of just making a full-on radiation creature. Godzilla would basically start to fight against the military, and the military would have a problem with this. After shooting him with a scented bioweapon that would basically make Godzilla fall asleep. Godzilla being around almost 60 to 70 meters in height, he's not that big. Quite small, actually. He can literally climb the Brooklyn Bridge. So this is when they would put Godzilla into a facility, and a couple people who would want revenge on Godzilla would basically try to kill him. We go to outer space, and we see that aliens, a traditional Godzilla enemy, would basically make a creature named... Hang on, let me remember. The Griffin. The creature just has a body of a puma / a lion, body of a hawk like eagle head, with a forked tongue of serpents. Yeah. This would be basically made to destroy and completely eliminate the human world. After doing that properly, the Griffin would go into its first stages to consume bats and stuff. As it would eat and consume things, this creature, it would grow into its final form, a griffin, and basically head on towards Godzilla. Godzilla, who has finally awoken once more, have decided to, basically go out there and try to kill this griffin, because really, this griffin is an enemy. And Godzilla was actually made from ancient human civilization to fight the griffin. After fighting the griffin, Godzilla would actually be finally appreciated by mankind, and be left alone. Seems nice, right? Well, now, I'm gonna put my parts in this, because I'm gonna imagine the sequel in my own way. So yes. Year. What year would it be in that time? Let's just say 1956, 1945, 54. Godzilla hasn't been seen in almost 9 years. And basically, he's a bit brash. Not really brash, but Godzilla doesn't really do anything. The King of the Monsters just kind of walks around, swims under the ocean as hydrogen bombs. So it basically wake him up, and Godzilla would wake up angry that he was shot at. He would basically go to the nearest land mass towards him which would be Japan. And in the traditional Godzilla style, start destroying it all because of him being shot at. He would basically attack Japan in frustration of being violated by atomic missiles. Japan didn't like this, and well, most of the rest of the world kind of like seeing that Godzilla retaliated because he was attacked first. And everyone's kind of like, oh shit. These guys woke up the monster. How stupid can you be? So, the world unites together and just decides, even though Japan attacked Godzilla first, if we don't do something, he's just gonna destroy everywhere else. So they decided to make a super weapon designed to kill Godzilla, an oxygen destroyer. The scientist, which I'm not going to name, with the name of Serizawa, I think. Yeah, Serizawa. He makes the oxygen destroyer, but it's not like any missile. You have to actually detonate the bomb manually. And there was no way that he was going to let someone else detonate his device, that they die because of it. So Serizawa decided to detonate the bomb himself, because it's a sacrifice that he's willing to take for the rest of mankind and for Godzilla's own peace. So they would go with this plan, and they would decide to, do that. Godzilla, who's in the ocean now, which actually would have started to reproduce asexually. I forgot the word. It's too long and I don't want to remember. After laying one egg, just one, it would basically sense something close. It would go and swim about 90 to 670 kilometers towards Serizawa, and basically Serizawa would see Godzilla, and he would see the kaiju as Godzilla starts to, attack Serizawa in the ship. Serizawa would enter the water where Godzilla is and activate the bomb. After activating the device, Godzilla would roar out in one final attempt as he would sink to the bottom, it turning into bone. Completely turning into a skeleton. Ain't that fun? After being turned into a skeleton laying on the ocean floor, time would pass. And the egg, which very much would actually start to absorb the radiation around it, would have actually hatched in the 1980s. After finally hatching, it would basically wake up around 1984. After hatching finally, it would basically surface and head off somewhere. 5 months has passed since the Godzilla egg has finally hatched. And this is when alerts and loud alerts, and the military was basically, what's that? as I see something, a huge wave coming towards them. They wouldn't really think of it as anything really, so they would basically, you know, probably nothing big. And basically they would just ignore it. This is when something would pop up the water, rise from the water, as they would see a huge creature around 80 meters in height, as the back, these jagged dorsal platings would glow in a bright blue color as it would lift his foot up to the road, as a car that would have been driving by would stop abruptly and a foot would smash down as the car would basically shake. As the whole city would felt that, and as they would all stop and just look to see a creature 80 meters in height start walking around the city, grayish blackish in color, with dark black plates on its back, with a crocodilian like tail for swimming, and with four human like identical fingers, with sharp claws on the end, with feet like classic Godzilla feet, which four toes with large crocodilian type of claws. As the creature would basically start to walk around, and as it would roar a loud roar that would make some people hearing go bad. Everywhere is going on. People are panicking, seeing this giant monster just rise from the ocean as it's walking around New York like it's a casual thing. The military decides to attack the creature and basically continues to attack it while everything around it, the creature doesn't see these planes, and at first it's kind of curious what are those things in the air. But this is when it sees those planes shoot something. The creature would look at it, and as the moment those projectiles get close to it, it hits, and an explosion happens, and the creature will cry out in pain. And as it would basically start to realize it's being attacked, and it would basically retaliate. And as one of these creatures would go by, as it would basically try to bite it, but it misses. Tanks would come up and start to fire at it. Basically, they would be having some problems. Everywhere would start to panic, and people in the military would say, "Sir." One of the soldiers in the military would say, "Sir, we have identified it as a creature. What is it?" "Godzilla." "God what?" "Godzilla, sir. This a creature appeared 1945. 1945? You mean that old monster that died? 1956, 1940, 1954? Yes. But wasn't it killed by the Ocean Destroyer? Yes, sir. And the skeleton is still basically on the bottom, on the seafloor bottom. We checked this a few months ago. How is there another one? One soldier says, "Do you think it can reproduce?" "What are you saying? soldier. I'm saying you think that this new Godzilla can reproduce asexually, or the old Godzilla reproduce asexually by itself, or another. There's still so much we know. There's still so many things that we don't know about this creature. There was a team, a man said, bringing them here. You mean them? But they're crazy. They might not be now. Now, just to know, I think the MonsterVerse and this type of Godzilla would actually go pretty well together. Because if I really think about it, first time America tried to make their own Godzilla, I guess that was their first attempt trying to make their MonsterVerse. Their second attempt was in 2014. So, yeah. It would basically make sense to have this Godzilla. They would basically say, as a man would come up and says, "Good evening," as Shirazawa. You know what this creature is? As it would show like video cams of this creature walking around just destroying things, casually destroying things. Gojira? One person says, yes, it's alive. You said that the old skeleton was still there. We think it reproduced with the original, reproduced asexually. Extraordinary. Unlike its parent, it's darker in color, but a bit bigger is also. We estimate it's about 80 meters in height. 80 meters? That's almost another 100 feet in height from the parent. The parent was just 70 meters in height. Interesting. Very interesting. Interesting, yeah. One soldier says, how are we gonna deal with this? Do we kill it? Do we use the oxygen destroyer? We can't remake that bomb. There's no way we could. Because all the notes were destroyed on that boat when the bomb went off. Sarazawa would look, as he says, I might have an idea. We can lure Godzilla away. One man says, okay, how do you lure the giant lizard away? Calls. Use its mother's calls. Maybe it will react to it. So you're saying that maybe its predecessor's call would lure it away from the city? We have some of the calls of its parent. They start luring it. As they would basically start to lure the creature away. As the creature would start to get lured away, as they would use the calls of its predecessor, and as the Godzilla would basically stop, and it would turn around, and it would basically start to listen to these calls. It's just like its calls. Its mother. It would automatically know this is its mother's calls. And as it would start to follow the calls, as the creature would turn around, as its tail would grip a building side, and as they would start to walk towards the sound. Sir Zhao was like, I knew it. It's an infant. An infant? Are you saying this is a child? Yes. If it knows its mother's calls and follows the calls, it's clearly an infant. An infant that is young. Continue the calls all the way up to the ocean. As the Godzilla would basically follow the calls, and as it would get to the ocean, once it gets to the ocean, it would basically start to follow the calls. After 2-3 hours, the Godzilla would realize it can't hear its mother's calls anymore. And that would start to make it panic. As it would look around, can't find its mother's calls, it would basically submerge under the water or to be never seen for a while. We'll keep tabs on it. Good. As long as you keep tabs on it, it's fine. Now, we time skip to about the year 1999, the era of the millennium. As there would be some, projects going down. Well, in Japan, and very much they would be doing things they're not supposed to. And the World War was kind of basically going on. This is when a project called what was it called again? Mogira. No, Mogira is the wrong name. Megrius? I think it's called Megrius. A giant, dragon-like fly creature would basically open its eyes, and as it would basically start to fly, as it starts to fly, it would basically break out of its cage and into the open world. Japan would basically start to panic and thinking that its monster has run away. So they would basically start to scour for the land and sea for it. Because one thing that this creature does have is the ability to reproduce very quickly and to multiply. Now, Godzilla. Godzilla would basically sense this, as he would sense this creature, knowing that now this creature was caged, but now it's kind of just free out and about, and it's reproducing, and it finds out a threat to its life and life on this planet, as it would basically start to swim towards a certain location of Japan. As it will start to swim towards Japan, thing Japan would basically start to look for ways to bring back the creature. As this is when they would find the creature, and as it would basically be have a nest on one of the nearby mountains. And as the creature would see the military, and as the military would start to fire the creature, because now it's a threat to not just Japan but the whole world. So they're start to try to eliminate this threat. And as these attacks would pretty much attack the Megarius, when a loud screech would be heard as the Megarius would turn its head to see this creature, a black-like dinosaur reptile creature emerging from the water, from the ocean, as it would start to walk towards it. As the creature would be very slow just very slow, what it looks like, as it would basically roar at this Megarius. The Megarius would look, and as it would screech at this new opponent that it sees. And as it would basically open its wings and start fly towards this monster, one would see, as they would remember, one man in a jet would say, "Godzilla." So it's true. Godzilla is still alive. Another says, the leader of this group would one says, so Godzilla, it really does it. It really did reproduce sexually to make a new one. G-Force, moving on to two kaijus. As they would basically start to shoot on the Megarius, Godzilla would basically start to attack the Megarius, and as their battle would basically start, Godzilla being a lot slower creature, even though it's only around 80 meters, it would basically grab the Megarius by the tail and by biting it, and then grabbing it and slamming it down to the ground, or it starts where it would go for a stomp. The Megarius quickly maneuvering out of there would basically start to cling on Godzilla, and they would go into basic physical combat. Godzilla being more stronger than the Megarius in physical combat, the Megarius would take a more distant approach, firing attacks from its tail and from its eyes. As this creature would attack Godzilla, which it would send anything nearby exploding. Godzilla, who's being blasted by this attack, its tough hide would get it through, but having some, burns here and there, and some pretty nasty ones. Godzilla would basically snarl, and as a blue glow would go on the back of the creature's dorsal platings, and as its eyes would glow bright blue with a jet of blue flames bursting out the mouth as this blast of superheated blue flames would land on the giant Megareus, it would be pretty much pushed back as Godzilla would release another blast, which would basically send the Megareus crashing into the mountains. Godzilla was to walk forward, and as one man would say, that blast, that's full hot blue flames. They're on radiation levels. That's an atomic fire blast, one says. Keep the two kaijus contained, once another man says. And as they'll basically fire at both Godzilla and the Megareus. Godzilla shrugging them off because the muscles ain't piercing its hide like the Megareus weapons are. Godzilla would basically grab the Megareus, and as they would throw it to another nearby mountains, they could walk towards it. As they would start to claw, gash, and tail smack it around, the Megareus not getting any bounce, being touched by the Godzilla, would basically see this as a bad thing. So it would use its tail and as point blank range attack the underbelly of Godzilla. Godzilla would basically roar in pain as its underbelly would basically be attacked. As they would basically start back, Godzilla would fire a blast of atomic fire, and as this would hit the Megareus, and fully wounding it with some of its wings being a bit torn. The Megareus would fly off into the distance. Godzilla having a pretty big scar on its chest would basically fall to be, as they would collapse. The kaiju would basically start to breathe heavily. And as they would all, some of the men think, crap, it's hurt. What do we do? Do we finish it off? It's wounded. We should probably finish it off. One soldier says, don't. If Godzilla can clearly wound the Megareus, we can use it to fight it. To take care of our problem. So clearly, looks like Godzilla doesn't like it around its territory. This whole planet is probably its territory. One man says, all right, but that thing looks at me funny, it's dead. They would all, as they would all return back to Japan, Godzilla would basically start to get up as it would basically start to head towards back to the ocean to heal. As it would start to heal very slowly, its regeneration is very slow. As with the Megareus very much starts to reproduce. As one Megareus goes to 2, 2 goes to 3, and 3 goes to 6. 6 Megareus is fully grown. Well, teenagers actually. Godzilla would sense that the Megareus reproduction has just ended, and if it doesn't stop this is going to be a problem. This is when Godzilla would basically head towards Japan and would basically go through buildings to go to the kaiju. One of the teenager Megareus would see Godzilla as it would basically attack it. Godzilla easily dealing with the mega race because it's a teenager. Unlike it, which is a young sub-adult, being more powerful than a teenager, easily destroying it with a blast of a atomic fire breath. After hitting it and killing 3 of the Megarius, the teenager Megarius, the parent would basically arrive with the other 3 children, and they would attack Godzilla. Godzilla, who would have started to fight with Megarius family, he would have brought down the 4 Megarius to 2, killing the other 2 children. And as the Megarius would basically rush at Godzilla, and as it would basically grab him by the neck and start to fly him through the city. As Godzilla's being dragged by the Megarius, he would basically bite down on the tail of the child, and as it would basically let go of him, letting him crash into the radiation port, or radiation station, a radioactive port. As the Megarius would basically shoot a blast of shoot out its beam, completely destroying everything, that whole port. It'll be blown into flames. As the parent and the child would think Godzilla's dead, so they would just basically start to fly off. 2 hours has passed, and the Megarius is rebuilding the nest in Japan. This is when the child is hit by a blast of concentrated blue energy, and as it goes straight through the teenage Megarius, burning it, as it will collapse down dead. Megarius would turn its head, and as it would roar in anguish, seeing its child is dead, it would turn its head towards who did it, seeing Godzilla right there. Now staying around 90 to 100 meters in height. Around the size of Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla, it would roar out. It would basically Godzilla roar at the Megarius, and as the 2 would charge, Godzilla, being way faster than he was earlier, will quickly rush at the Megarius, kill him off. Godzilla would clash with the Megarius and still clash for dominance. Godzilla pushing back the Megarius, as he would basically start to bite the Megarius and throw him across the city. The Megarius and Godzilla will continue to fight, as G-Force would basically go out and start to shoot at the Megarius, helping Godzilla win this fight. Well, I don't say its dorsal plates, it's different. They're large about, its dorsal plates, it has like a white outline to it. It's true, it's bigger also. As the dorsal plates would glow a bright blue, and it has a rumbling sound, it has a blast of blue fire, urine concentrated, would collide with the monster, sending it back into some buildings. Godzilla would quickly make his way towards the Megareus. The Megareus would be on his back. Godzilla would basically stomp on it as he would start try to make it submit. This is when the Megareus would stab Godzilla with its tail. Godzilla roaring out in pain, feeling its abdomen stabbed. It would basically grab the Megareus, ripping its tail off from the rest of its body as Godzilla would remove the leftover tail and throw it to a building. As he would basically pick it up and he would throw it. As his dorsal plates would glow once more, and as that concentrated blast of blue firestorm would hit the Megareus, killing it as it would burn to atoms. The skeleton type of body would be roasted, seeing that, well, not really burnt to atoms, but collapsed. The body would collapse. Godzilla would walk up to it as it would basically look. It would basically stomp on the burnt body, checking if there's any heartbeat, as it would basically look to the monster's eyes, seeing nothing, no breathing, no nothing. It's dead. Godzilla would roar out in victory as it would basically turn and basically head towards to the ocean. One guy would say, he killed a Megareus. Yeah, he killed the weapon we are meant to use. So, what do we do now? No, one man says, do we let him go? As Godzilla would basically go back to the waters and as he would submerge himself, disappearing. They would basically look to see if Godzilla's still there. As the beast would basically swim off into the depths of the ocean. In the year of the 2000s, more monsters are being found. Godzilla dealing with them here and there. One being a giant fire turkey that would spew out hot concentration blasts of flames. Another being a giant moth. One in Antarctica being a giant three-headed dragon stuck in ice. Bigger than anything that was ever seen. Every one of these monsters that they found was put in monarch that found was put into chambers to keep safe. Any one of these monsters ever got out, Godzilla would deal with them, killing them off or making them submit.